Welcome everyone to Overcome Podcast. In today's episode, I'm gonna talk with someone that we've been talking online for quite some time. We are from the same field in information security, and but actually, I met him more from the fitness perspective because I saw his amazing transformation, and we're gonna talk about that transformation, how it was. So, welcome, Jered Bare.
Thank you, Yuri, for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm glad to finally talk to you.
Yes, been more than a year that we've been talking about, and it's funny that just now we are able to have this conversation. Jared, as we both work on this field, I want you to step back and understand because I know that you came from a military background, so I'm pretty sure that at some point in time before you gain weight, you were fit, right? And then something happened, you gain a bunch of weight, and then something happened and you lost a bunch of weight, right? So go back to first of all, what triggers you to become obese? I'm gonna say that, right? What triggers you to become obese, and then what triggers you to change?
Yeah, starting from the beginning is I was an overweight kid, and kind of growing up that way. And it wasn't until I started playing sports in high school as to where I actually found the gym, and I was introduced to lifting weights. At the time, my mom's boyfriend, his son, just came back from the Air Force, and he wrote me a program, and I stuck to it all summer. And I think I lost about 30 to 40 pounds that summer. And then the sophomore year, I was able to start on the high school football team. So I was in pretty good shape then. In my first couple of years of college, I was keeping that up, and I was getting stronger. I was getting bigger. But then, like everything happens, life happens. Is that I met a girl who is now my wife now, and so we dated, still stayed, somewhat fit, and then we got married, and then kids happened. And as that happened, you start to lose like your routines. You start to lose the gym. Your focus on different things, especially with the newborn. I mean, you have kids as well, so
Yes,
you
yes.
understand. It's just
Hmm.
they take up so much time. And I just kind of life just happened, and so I got overweight again.
But wait, let me just stop you right there. So it has nothing to do with your career, like in the didn't your career and your schedule work didn't contribute with that?
No, it did contribute to it. So the career when I got into IT at the time rather than infosec, you go to conferences, you get the meals paid for, and then you kind of develop these bad habits. It's easier to go out to lunch together and
Hmm.
eat a bad meal rather than pack your lunch and prep it. So yeah, absolutely, the field contributed to it, and plus we sit at a desk all day. We can do a standing desk, we can walk, we can work out, but the reality is that we sit here from 7 to 8, sometimes 10-hour days, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And so that contributed to everything. And then um, once I got to that point, and funny story about the military, and I will touch on that a little bit later, but I didn't join the military until my 30s, so we can get into that after this.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know about that. So
cr-
interesting.
it's crazy, crazy. But life happened. I got overweight, and then I hit this like field of depression and anxiety, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I've never really been an anxious person, and so I dealt with that for about a good year. And then I remember the time in 2017. I stayed obese for about a good 4 to 5 years. I tell people I dirty bulk for 45 years, but that's just a lie. That's how I deal with it.
That's a good one.
but, but that moment, I was just like, I can't keep living like this. It's affecting my life. We just had another kid. It's affecting their lives. And so I knew what to do. I knew exactly what to do. So I got back in the gym, and that's from 2017 all the way to now. I've kind of continued that lifestyle.
Nice. But did you had any health issue that also contribute with you like waking up? Um, because in my case, for example, I did have some health issues. My knees were giving up because I was too heavy, so I had to take injections on my knee because I was developing early arthritis, and then also my blood work was completely whacked. It was horrible. So I'm not sure if you also had those problems.
Oh, absolutely. I had back problems. I had elbow problems. I was 27 years old, and I felt like I was 60 years old. And the weight just contributed to it. Not moving around contributed to that. And
Oh,
I
so you
actually,
actually were 10 years younger than me when you were having this problem. Wow.
yep, yeah. Yeah, happened pretty quick. After about 24, then that 3-year time span of life happened, and that's where I found myself the overweight. But yeah,
How much weight did you gain in those 3 years?
oh wow, 80 pounds. So a
Wow.
normal weight for me is 185, 180 pounds, where I look decent, I feel good. But I ballooned up to 252 pounds, 255, I believe.
Wow. And you don't notice, right? Because you start gaining and you just don't notice that suddenly you're like, wow, I'm almost 100 pounds heavier.
Right. I mean, the only thing I noticed was I was buying, bigger clothes, but I didn't care at the time, and I wasn't happy, and I couldn't figure it out. But then it was after the fact I look back at that time in my life as it was the weight eventually.
So there was not really a specific trigger that made you to wake up and say, "Hey, enough is enough. I need to do something."
Kind of, sort of. I hated myself, and be honest with you, I hated looking that way. I hated feeling that way, and as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people do judge you in public.
Yep.
They can say we're all inclusive and friendly, but if you saw overweight me compared to now, you would prefer talking to me than the overweight Jared, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Your self confidence changes. The
Hmm.
way that even when you are presenting, I remember presenting when I was overweight. It was one perspective. Now it's completely different. I'm pretty sure you feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. Um, my presentations compared to when I was overweight to now are miles and miles way better now than it ever has been, and that's just due to the extra confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident in myself. I'm confident the way I look. Just confident overall, and people can pick up on that too. Before I wasn't so confident. They would pick up on that, and they said, "Hey, you can work on prepping your presentation." Now I jump in and do a presentation, like, "Oh wow, that was really great," and I do prepare more than I have before,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also just that confidence that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Did anyone help you to start a nutritional program, everything, or you did on your own?
I did it all on my own. I did
Everything?
my own
Really? Wow.
everything. I did my own coaching, my own nutrition. Now, that's not to say, and you talked to him on your podcast, but John Meadows was a heavy influence
Mm-hmm.
on my weight loss transformation, and we had like 2 or 3 messages over Instagram, but I digested all of his videos as far as like weight training, um, you know, nutrition, and just everything that he had. I incorporated into my programs. And it's funny story. So there's a manager where I work at. That's John Meadows' sister-in-law.
Wow.
So, and she's also a natural bodybuilder. She won her pro card twice,
Wow,
and
and
so
amazing.
she was telling me they didn't have like the closest relationship, but every time they talked, they would talk bodybuilding and everything. But I attribute a lot of that, my own coaching, to just Google, YouTube, and then also, the guy who wrote me the workout plan when I was 15, 16 years old. I took a lot of that and brought it back and just figured it out along the way.
But I'm glad you have a really role model in John Matters because there are so many BS on YouTube, Google. You can go all over the place with different types of diets and everything. And looks like you didn't go to that direction because you have really a good foundation and you went through a long-term commitment rather than like a summer diet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I tell people, I've always kind of been a meathead. Just playing sports and being in the gym. It's like I'm always a meathead, but that's how you just joke around about it.
But did you do any blood work in the beginning and the end just to compare and see?
Nope. That's something I want to get more into, is the blood work, but I didn't do any blood work. The only time I did is when I had health issues, as far as like health anxiety, and then a couple of doctor visits, but that's it.
So now I'm even more impressive because you did all that on your own, and that shows a lot of self-discipline. Because when you are doing things on your own and you have no one to actually make you accountable, and you don't have to send progress pictures to your coach and things like that, it's kind of hard because you have to be very self-motivated, self-disciplined to make it happen.
Very hard. Yeah. And people ask me all the time, why don't you hire a coach? Why don't you do this or that? And it's always the same as, first, I'm frugal. I like to be frugal with my money. But second, I kind of know what to do. I just had to execute the plan. That's really what it took. I've lost weight before in the past. I can do it again, but this time I'm going to keep it off and make it a
Well, but
lifestyle.
you took to the next level because you went to compete. So talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about that transition to okay, I lost weight. Guess what? Now I'm gonna compete. What happened?
Oh, I fell into it. As you develop time in the gym, you kind of develop friends as well, and so it just happens as so like you see a guy with big biceps, you're like, hey, how did you get those big biceps? And you guys laugh about genetics, but you build that friend pool in the gym, and they said, hey, we noticed you lost weight, and won't you do something? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, won't you go powerlift or do bodybuilding? We're gonna go do powerlifting here in the next 6 months. Won't you go with us? I'm like, I'm not really interested in powerlifting. I can squat and deadlift decent, but I don't want to hurt my back anymore than it's already screwed up.
Hmm.
But they said, well, won't you try bodybuilding? I'm like, okay, I'll try bodybuilding because I'm like, I thought it would be easier than powerlifting. I was wrong on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, you were wrong on that one for sure.
Yeah. But I just kind of fell into it. And so back to like the resources of YouTube, I didn't hire a bodybuilding coach. I did all my own coaching. I kind of did it wrong. My very first prep, I did it wrong. I did like a low carb prep all the way through. So I did a 10-week prep, all low carb. And if I could go back and do it again, I would slap that Jared in the face and say, you got to get some carbs in.
Yes,
Um,
because you
but yeah,
probably were really flat on stage without
oh
carbs.
yeah. Yeah, if you pop on my Instagram, I did a year difference between the first time I stepped on stage to the second time, and it's night and day. I'm so much more full, I'm bigger, I got more vascularity in that first prep, which I happened to win. I got lucky. It was just who didn't show up that day. That's the whole reason why I won that very first show. It's just because the better guy didn't show up that day, and that's just kind of how it is in bodybuilding. But knowing from what I know now, like it's completely different. But again, I just fell into the sport and then after that, like you get the bug. You
Yeah,
get bit
yeah.
by that bodybuilding bug, and that moment you step off stage and the endorphins are running, you got a little bit of food in you. You want to do this and excel at it, and that's
Yeah.
just kind of how I fell into it.
And how many years between your weight loss and the first competition?
Let's see. So I probably lost the weight. When did I step back on stage? I think I stepped on stage in 2019, I believe it was. It was the OCB in St. Louis. So about 2 years. I took about a good 2 years before I stepped on stage for my very first competition.
Yeah, because you probably, I've seen your pictures before. You probably had to deal a little bit with, you lost a lot of weight, so you have losing skin sometimes. Did you have to deal with a little bit of losing skin, so you have to fill up with muscle too?
Yeah, oh yeah. I still got the loose skin. It's right there lower. It's not as bad as, some other people experience it, but
Hmm.
it's it's down there by my lower abs, but you can tell when I get really lean. So we're talking like 8%, 9%.
Yeah.
That when you do that shot of where you're flexing the abs, it does bunch up down there. But that comes with the territory. I'm
Hmm.
not concerned about it.
But
Some people
do you
are.
feel like it gets better over the years? Because I think it does, right?
I think so. I've probably added since that competition. I probably added a good 7 to 10 pounds of clean muscle since then, and it has gotten better.
Did you, between the first competition and the last one you did you change your weight division or still in the same weight division?
Same weight division. And I actually changed organizations too. So I went to the NANBF, and I can't remember the acronym what that stands for, but I stayed classic physique and I did open bodybuilding for my next competition. Just I wanted to try it out, and so I had a look, and I just tend to stay away from like men's physique because I have decent legs,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and that's just genetics.
yeah.
I'm genetically blessed with good calves and good quads.
Yeah, so why not to show?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I don't have the smallest waist for classic, and so I figured if I could diet down enough, I would look okay in open bodybuilding.
So until this day, until the last prep, you still adamant that you don't need a coach.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, for the nutrition part, but posing, next time I step on stage, I'm gonna hire a posing coach. That's
Yeah.
one thing that my posing has gotten better. The first competition, it was terrible, but as I move forward, I will definitely hire a posing coach. But as nutrition and working out, I know what works for me, and I've done it for so long at this point that I know what to execute.
Did you had any problems during the time that during the pandemic? I would say when things were shut down. Did you have any hard time maintaining your diet and exercise? Because I don't know if you have a gym at home, but did you change a lot of your routine, or you were able to keep it up?
I was able to keep it up. It's funny because I got back from military training in March of 2020, and I kind of forecasted the pandemic. Not saying I'm a fortune teller, but it was starting to happen in China, and we were getting some information about that. And so when I got home, the very first thing I did was I went and got in Facebook Marketplace and I bought a squat rack from a lady 15 miles south of us. And I bought the squat rack, I bought the weights just in case stuff would shut down. And just so happened I got lucky again and things started to shut down. So I built up a little home gym during 2020, and I kept up my routine. And actually, I stepped on stage of October in 2020. So I did a whole prep on there.
Nice. So during this whole time you trained basically in your garage.
Yep, correct.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm not sure. Do you travel a lot for your job? No.
Not so much anymore. Our travel budget's been slashed, and then I kind of been keeping away from conferences here lately, especially like DEF CON and Black Hat. My whole thing is that last year they brought Black Hat and DEF CON back in person, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be around a bunch of people who's been cooped up for about a year and a half and give them free booze. You're going to see stuff you don't want to see, so I avoided it. Man, I'm probably going to do that again this year, but as we start to get our travel back and conferences and stuff, I will probably start traveling again.
Okay, but prior to the pandemic, you were traveling a lot?
A little bit, yeah. 2019, I think I traveled 8 to 10 times. I was three to four of those were in Vegas as well. So
And
yeah.
how did you do when you were on the road? You were still eating clean? Did you bring your food? We were still training? How was? Because I'm asking this because we see a lot of people in the IT community, InfoSec community that they always bring the. I'm gonna say excuse because there's an excuse. Oh, I'm traveling. I really cannot do a lot because I'm traveling. Well, nowadays you really can. I mean, it's a matter of you making the right choice. So how did you do to keep up?
Yeah, I did it the unconventional way. I did one meal a day. I do that when I travel. That's
Ooh,
the easiest way
wow.
for me to keep within my macros. And I don't seem to lose any muscle. In fact, sometimes I lose body fat when traveling just because I do it that way. And it depends what the evening meal is. I don't prep my food. I can, but I'll stick with coffee and diet soda until that one meal. And that's when I had, and I enjoy myself too. I'm not, I'll eat pretty clean for the most part. I would say 80% clean on the road. But if we're at like a burger joint that's well known around the nation, I'm gonna definitely enjoy a burger.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And what about exercise? Did you usually train at the hotel's gym or you take a week off?
Oh no, I train. No, I find a gym and I train. They have one at the hotel. That's great. If not, I'm paying the week or month membership, whatever the entry fee is, to get that gym time in.
Nice. Yeah, that's very important. Um, so talk a little bit more about this military that you start so late. What happened there?
Yeah, it was after the weight loss. So 2018 came around, and I don't know if the military structure, so you have active duty and then you have the reserves. And so in Missouri, we have the Guard, the Missouri Army National Guard, and the Air National Guard. And so I was kind of toying with the idea of joining up part-time just for some education benefits, insurance, and I've always wanted to serve. What happened when I was 18, I was about to sign the papers to join the Army National Guard at the time, but my kind of got talked out of it. At the end of the day, it was my own doing. I said I don't want to do it. I'm not going to go ahead and sign up. But when I lost the weight, I was 30 years old. I talked to my wife and family about it, and this is something I've been wanting to do my entire life. And they said, "Hey, do it. It's don't wake up when you're 50 and regret a decision you didn't make." And
Yeah.
so I went ahead and listened to the Missouri Air National Guard, and it's been a great decision. I was one of the older guys in our boot camp, which is fine, but they look to you advice. Get this, Yuri.
Mm.
The kids, I would say kids, they're 18 to 20 years old at the time. They didn't know how to fill out an envelope, the return address and address it. And so I was helping kids, fill out envelopes so they're sending them back home, and then also tying their ties, which was kind of bonkers to me at the time because I mean, we grew up, we could send letters
Yeah,
and write
yeah.
envelopes and everything, but these kids know how to do it, but I guess that's how it is
But what
now. But
about the physicality? Do you still have to do some physical tests to get into this?
yeah, nothing on the Air Force, and I have to say this, so they don't come after anybody, but this is all my experience. But I actually went down in better shape than coming out of boot camp because the Air Force is more focused on, you know, uh, planes, communications.
Hmm.
You're really sitting at a desk. I equate it to, basically kind of what we do, and that's also what I do for the Air National Guard is cybersecurity. But again, they had PT tests, and I blew through those. To be honest with you, I think I was third in the flight as far as times and push-ups and
Nice.
sit-ups.
Very cool. Very cool. And then recently, I also learned that you start practicing jiu-jitsu. So how was that transition? And who brought you to jiu-jitsu actually?
Yeah, that's a good story too. So in 2010, we moved to Columbia, Missouri, and I've always been interested in jiu-jitsu. And one of the founders of American Top Team, Wade Rome, opened up a school here. And then big names have trained here too in the past. Like Ben Askren. I can't remember the other wrestler from Mizzou right now, but some big names trained here locally. And when I moved here, I was like, hey, I want to try this out. So I walked into ATT. I signed up for jiu-jitsu and I've loved it from there. But then as time went on, that's when I was just getting married, and that's when we had my first daughter as well. I got out of it, and then also that was also the time period of when I gained the weight.
Oh, so
Family happened.
actually, jiu-jitsu
Yep,
came before you
yep.
gain weight. That's amazing. I didn't know. I thought that you just recently got into it.
No, so I was into it for about a year and a half, and then again, life happened, and then here recently we had a school open up. It's Gracie Baja of Columbia, opened up January of 2021, I believe, and so I saw it's literally 5 minutes away from my house. So I just walked in and said, "Hey, got a couple years training. I'm interested," and I tried to class out, and I was like, "All right, I'm back in jiu-jitsu. I got that bug now."
How was to go back? Did you feel like riding a bike that you could remember things fast, or you were like, oh, this is harder than I thought?
Yeah, it was like riding a bike. I've been fortunate to have great professors and teachers. We've had some of the best in the world train here, of all places, Columbia, Missouri. And so I was able to, get those techniques back. And in fact, after my first class, I asked to roll the professor. Typically, they don't do that. And I was like, hey, professor, can I roll with you? I have some previous experience. He says, yeah, let's go ahead. We got a roll in. And after we were done, he said, dude, you're not a white belt. Come on. What are you doing here? You're sandbagging us.
Nice.
I was
That's
like, no,
that's
professor, I promise I'm
that's a
not.
really good compliment. Nice.
And so the next class I came in that Saturday and he slapped two stripes on my white belt. And so, yeah, like I said, I just been fortunate to have such great training and training partners. I'm able to call
And you
all that
got
back
and you
pretty
got your
soon.
blue belt recently, right?
I did, yeah. So I've been training pretty hard. I've been trying to get in the jujitsu gym, 5, 6 days a week, and
Really? Wow,
roll.
nice.
Yep,
Very nice.
rolling with some great people. It's not my promotion of blue belt. It's the school's promotion. We have some really great instruction. We have a great community there too, and that just makes it all better and better. I love jujitsu in the first place. I fell in love with it years ago, but now that I'm part of something that is contributing to not even my training, but also just being part of communities, awesome. I
Now let me
can't
ask
say.
you this, because when you were prepping for bodybuilding show and everything, you have to do some cardio. I'm not sure exactly which cardio you did. If you did stairmass or if you ran, I don't know. But when you compare the cardio that you do to prep for a show versus the jiu-jitsu cardio, it's kind of ridiculous, right? Because sometimes you feel like, oh, my gas is really good. Then you go to jiu-jitsu, and after the second row, you're dead. Do you have that problem too, or your guys is pretty good across the board?
Believe it or not, I actually ran a lot during my prep, and that was one of the things I just didn't know. You need to focus on more like stair stepper
Yep.
and lower intense cardio. But I probably ran 5 to 6 miles a day, and
Wow.
yeah, you just said they're like, oh my gosh, really? But lucky for me, my body adapted. I probably lost a little bit of muscle, but not a whole lot. But yeah, the cardio is completely different now. For my bodybuilding right now, I'm doing more lower intense, but
Hmm.
just like you said, you get into jujitsu, it's completely different. You got to run you have to have that intense cardio to kind of build that cardiovascular, system up so you can compete against those people because you're moving all the time, whether you're bridging, whether changing position or even submission. You gotta have decent cardio.
Yeah, and the intensity, because you just the fact that your adrenaline is really high, because at the end of the day, it's a friendly roll, but someone is trying to choke you, so it creates that tension, and it creates that adrenaline. Are you planning to compete on jiu-jitsu as well?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna compete at the AGF in Kansas City at the end of this month, but I'm looking to compete in World Masters in Vegas coming up in September. So, hoping to get there and hopefully do well. If not, I competed, and I just want to see where I stand, in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah, and when you look at from your age perspective, you master one, two, three.
I see. I'll be 35, July 27th. I think that's Masters 2, I
Yeah, I believe
believe.
it's two, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll probably compete in the Masters 2 division at medium heavy, so the 195 division.
That's gonna be good for you. You're gonna be very strong on that division, and if your cardio is good, then I think you're gonna do well for sure.
I hope so. We're training hard. We're training good, but I if not, I'm just gonna show up, do my best, and then we'll just go home after that. And plus, I'll enjoy Vegas too while we're there.
Well, and the whole thing about I'm not sure if you have this feeling, but the whole thing about competing, and that was always my mindset, and maybe Uh, I feel a lot of gratitude just the fact that I'm there participating, and this level of gratitude to me at least came after I injured my foot and I couldn't do things for one whole year. So I miss it so much, and I felt like coming back was like, well, I every time that I compete, I just want to be grateful that I'm able to do this, right? Because the worst thing that happens is when you want to do something, you are physically not able to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing for my transformation is that I get to do this. I get to wake up, I get to lift weights, I get to train jujitsu. There's people that would kill to be in my position, so I wake up every day grateful that I'm able to do what I do.
Yeah, yeah. Do you always been working from home, or this working from home came after COVID?
It came after COVID. Our organization, they said, "Hey, let's work from home with this COVID happening." And then after that, they're like, "All right, you guys want to stay at home? Great. If not, we'll open part of the office back up." But I decided to stay at home. It's already ingrained into my routine, and I do enjoy it as well. But I do miss that office culture every once in a while.
But it's easier from the training, from the nutrition perspective, right? You're close to your kitchen and you have full control
Hmm.
of the meals and everything, so it's much easier.
Absolutely. Plus, you have better coffee at home too than they serve at work. It may not be that way at Microsoft, but we didn't have the best coffee.
No, that's true. That's true. As far as routine, talking about routine, do you like to right now, for example, you still doing any early morning cardio, or you just training weights and then you just at night?
Yeah, so I'm an early riser. I'm fortunate enough our kids go to bed early as well, so I probably wake up around 4:20, 4:30 in the morning. I'm in the gym weight training at 5 a.m. And then I'll do my cardio typically after my workout,
Hmm.
and then I will train jujitsu over lunchtime. And if I can, I'll catch an evening class, but most typically that's the routine right now.
And that's good. That's good. Well, as far as recovery, do you do anything special to recovery?
I try to stretch. You probably know this as well. It's hard to balance jujitsu and bodybuilding as far as like caloric intake and recovery. So I try to do some more PT exercises if I'm injured, if I have a little kink in my neck or something. And stretching's a big one for me. There's some research that says stretching it doesn't help. There's some research that says stretching helps. I think for me it helps tremendously.
So nothing special like those cold water
Mm-mm.
or any acupuncture or nothing like that.
Nothing like that. I did the cold showers every once in a while. I can't tell if it made a difference or not, but I enjoy hot showers.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to do that.
And as far as nutrition, are you still keeping yourself in deficit as far as nutrition, or you are adding more carbs because now you actually need more carbs because of the jiu-jitsu, right? So how you are balancing that?
Yeah, it's a flexible diet, and then I just count calories as well. So right now I bounce between a deficit when I got look good for summer, and then right now I'm at a maintenance calorie. So I'm just going to maintain that, and then come time winter, I'm going to start adding just a little bit more calories.
So right
So I'll
now, are
be
you what, more than 2,000 calories a day?
yeah, I think my maintenance is 2,700 calories, but that's accounting for jujitsu, weight training, and any other exercise I add in.
And as far as the macros, is still the majority protein?
Yep, I prioritize protein, carbs, and then fats. So it's probably what, like a 30 or 40, 30, 35, something like that.
Hmm.
I eat more carbs than I do fat than I have. So it's probably, I'm sorry, that's my dog. But yeah, no, I prioritize protein, carbs, and then, the fats I can get in.
Nice. Well, Jared, it was really good talking to you. Thanks for sharing your time and your story. I think that this helps a lot, put things in perspective. A lot of people, I was just reflecting that we are halfway through the year already, and a lot of
Hmm.
people that established some goals in the beginning of the year, they still haven't accomplished some of those goals because things got into the way, and now we only have 6 months. And I know that some people are already saying, "Oh, maybe I should start again only next year," right? So the time to start is now. I think calendar is good, but you should not be driven just by, okay, I'm gonna start on a Monday, or oh, I'm gonna start on the next month. You start now. You start. Don't wait.
Yeah, I agree. I've had, you probably get the same thing. Hundreds of people ask me, like, how did you start? When did you start? I'm going to start on Monday. And I tell them, no, you start now. Don't wait till Monday. Never start on Monday. That's kind of the saying I tell them,
Yeah.
and go from there. And, it's changed my life. It's changed your life. And you can say what you want, but the previous me, I'd never want to go back to that. I'm never going to go back to that,
Exactly.
ever.
Same here. And is a change that not only affects you but affects people around you, because I'm pretty sure you have way more energy to play with your kids. You are more present as a husband. So I think everything's changed. Everyone noticed that.
Yeah, and you don't realize the people around you, how you affect them. And my wife recently, congrats to her, she also lost 40 to 50 pounds. And
Wow!
yeah,
Awesome! Awesome!
that was during the pandemic, and she was working out, and she loves it now. It's a lifestyle. And, if it's one thing I can tell people is that this has to be a lifestyle. It's
Yes.
said that in the fitness industry, but you have to make it, you got to make the time for it, regardless how busy you are.
My friend, it was a pleasure to finally talking to you. Congratulations on everything you do. Keep doing it, and I'll be in the Master Worlds in Vegas, so we're gonna meet face to face finally.
Fantastic. Yuri, I just want to say it's an honor talking to you. You are a role model to me. After learning who you are and what you've done, it's nothing short of amazing. But thank you for all your contributions to the InfoSec community, but also the fitness community as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate your words, and keep it up, man. I think the great things are on your way. Keep inspiring people. Keep doing what you love, and things will continue to evolve. I'm looking forward to meet you face to face in Vegas. All right.
Same here, Yuri. We'll see you then.
Take care, my friend.
See ya.
All right, everyone. This is a wrap for Overcome. Stay put. We have more to come.